Felt they had to get off to a quick start against the confident Oilers, who had Warren Moon back directing the run and shoot, but it was the worst-case scenario. On the opening drive, a very windy day in Rich Stadium, Moon overcomes 3rd and 7 with a 32-yard strike to Haywood. Jeffries makes a great catch into double coverage. Then the Oilers go for it on 4th and 2 at the Bills' 27-yard line, and Lorenzo White is going to break a tackle and get the first down. And, of course, that encourages the confident Moon, who never looked better, as he hits Jeffries for the touchdown. The 80-yard drive uses up over 9 minutes of clock. And the Oilers then drive 80 yards with their second possession as well. A few Oiler fans at Rich Stadium. Here's Moon to Ernest Gibbons, who makes the good catch for 22 yards. And then remember Webster Slaughter, as Jim Kelly watches on the sidelines. Mr. Slaughter caps the 12-play drive, and it is 14-3 Houston. The Bills' defense, no mystery for Moon. Look at this. First two drives, Moon 12 of 14, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then the Bills had to buckle their chin straps and make a defensive play or two, but Mike, it seemed like every time they did something right, they did something wrong that would negate it.
Well, they did that well for the first half, and at some point, the Bills' defense was going to have to start making plays. In the second quarter, trailing 14-3, the Buffalo defense thought they finally had the Oilers stopped a couple of times. Bills finally get some pressure on Warren Moon. Jeff Reich looks like he has him by the shoestrings, apparently stopping the drive. But guess what? Clifford Hicks caught for holding in the secondary, and that gives the Oilers new life, a second chance, and Moon goes to Curtis Duncan, beating guess who? Clifford Hicks over the middle. And at this point, it is 21-3. Mark Hill still getting there just a tad late. Next series, Oilers at the Bills' 47, 4th and 1. They're going for it, and Jeff Wright, a gimme, jumps offside. The Oilers once again with new life, and the drive is alive, and this time, Moon to Haywood Jeffries. Marv Levy just can't believe it at this point. And Haywood Jeffries gets behind the secondary in the corner of the end zone. And boys, it's almost lights out. It's 28-3 Houston at this point. You know, the Bills' defensive coaches have been accused of overthinking when it comes to playing the Houston offense. And maybe, Ed, they outthought themselves in the first half.
I think that could be, because they almost eliminated the use of linebackers in that first half. And then at the half, they made a little adjustment. First of all, Walt Corey went nuts at the half, and he really got all over his defense. And they also made an adjustment, though, and there you see what they did. In the first half, the Bills were using 6 DBs, 3 people up front, of course, as down linemen, and only a linebacker or 2. But then they went back to their basic 3-4 in the second half. They said, hey, we may lose 50-3, but we're going to be more aggressive, try to force some things to happen. Maybe we're more vulnerable to the big play, but there you see what happened. The Bills holding the Oilers to 13 yards rushing in the second half, and that was certainly one of the keys to victory.
And I think the other key to going to that, Ed, was the fact that it got some of their better players on the field. Up until that point, players like Shane Conlon were sitting on the bench, and it created some mismatch. You had Bills linebackers against those speedy receivers, but the Bills then were still playing with their best people out there in the second half when they went to the 3-4.
Of course, it also helps when you have the offense moving, because that puts a little doubt in the minds of the Oilers offense, and also the crowd got back into it, and what a crowd it was. We'll talk more about that later. Now, when Sports Extra returns, we're going to show you just how the Bills made NFL history, but first, what were some of the fans thinking at the half?
It was disgusting. It's terrible. I mean, there's a better team than that. There's a coaching problem, I think.
They didn't play well, didn't play with heart, so it disappointed me.
No matter what happens throughout the rest of the playoffs, and the Bills played Pittsburgh Saturday at 12:30 here on Channel 2 and NBC, Bills fans will never forget being a part of the greatest comeback in NFL history. Ronnie Millsap says it best.
Right goes far side. This is intercepted. And down the far sideline is Bubba McDowell. And he will score. And Houston now leads 35-3.
And when it's all said and done, the only thing that really for them is just right for us. Yeah, it was great, man. It was just unbelievable. I mean, I don't even know if there was one person in the stands that thought we could pull that out.
Around the world, and let's take it real slow.
It's unbelievable because on that play, the one I scored, usually he doesn't even go to me on that.
Let's take it real slow.
They're going to set it at the 22. An attempt of 32 yards for the win. It is right down the middle.
Let's take the long way around the world, and let's take it real slow.
This week was a very special week for me, and it was a very nerve-wracking week, and I've never gone through anything like this before. A week like this filled with the pressure.
This is a Buffalo Bills group that, even though they've had a lot of disappointments during the year, peaks and valleys, has no quit in them at all.
Let's take it real slow.
Our thanks to Ronnie Millsap and a great editing job by Mike DeGeorge and Kent Stockdale. Good piece there. Well, make no mistake, the 12th man was a big part of this comeback. The 75,141 fans, or most of them anyway, were still sitting in the rain when it was 35-3 Houston, and they certainly made some noise as the Bills came back, and the Oilers all told us in the dressing room later that, yes, the crowd was definitely a part of the Bills' comeback victory. Now, as elated as the Bills and their fans are, a quite different scene was unfolding in the Houston locker room. As a matter of fact, I was a little bit surprised at cornerback Chris Dishman's reply when I asked him what happened.
My hat's off to Reich and the Buffalo Bills, but you really can't say they did anything special. They made adjustments at halftime, and we didn't. We choked on this. It's not really nothing they did. Of course, they got some good players over there, don't get me wrong, and I wish them all the luck, but it's really, we just came out second half, and we just absolutely choked. We didn't make adjustments.
By the way, standing in the tunnel after the game, I got hit with something, looked down, and this is what it was. This was Chris Dishman's glove. So this will be a little souvenir here we'll keep on the Sports Extra set.
With a lot of money.
That's right. Well, is Frank Reich the king of the comeback? Well, Frank has now done something not even Joe Montana or anybody else, for that matter, has done. He has engineered the greatest comeback in NFL history, playoff or otherwise. He has also led the greatest comeback in collegiate history while at Maryland. Back in '84, Reich led Maryland back from a 31-0 halftime deficit at Miami, hitting 12 of 15 passes to help Maryland to a 44-40 win over the Hurricanes. Frank started his senior season only because a guy named Boomer Esiason was ahead of him until that time. Now today, Reich getting the start with Jim Kelly's knee ailing, down 35-3 third quarter. Reich engineers the comeback, 3 touchdown passes in a 28-point third quarter, including a gutsy 4th and 5 call from the Oilers 18 as the Bills elect to go for 6 instead of the field goal.
We're going for it if it's anywhere near reasonable distance for the first down. I didn't know that we'd get necessarily a touchdown on the play.
I came over to the sideline, and Marv said, we're going to go for it. And then a couple of the other coaches were talking about, well, do we want to kick a field goal? And he asked us, he asked Jim Schaffner and myself, how do you guys feel about the play that you have called? And I felt real good about the play that we had called, so he said, okay, then go ahead and go for it.
Then in the fourth quarter, Reich hitting Reed again from 17 yards out to give the Bills their first lead of the day at 38-35. And the rest, as they say, is history. Well, still to come on Sports Extra, switching to hockey now. Can Alexander make St. Louis sing the blues? And we're going to check with Pittsburgh to see what they think about today's amazing comeback by the Bills. Next assignment for the Bills, Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh next Saturday as they take on the AFC Central Division champion Steelers. Mike talked with sportscaster Derek Gunn of WPXI TV in Pittsburgh via satellite about the matchup.
With Derek Gunn from WPXI in Pittsburgh. And Derek, I would think, like most people in the country today, at halftime, were you folks thinking about meeting the Houston Oilers for a third time this season?
Yeah, you know, we were at a point where we were thinking about just stop rolling on the tape altogether and just using first-half highlights from the Houston game. But what resiliency by the Buffalo Bills today. You guys have to be very proud of that team up there tonight.
Derek, was there a sense from the Steelers' standpoint, would they rather have played the Bills or the Oilers, do you think?
Well, in talking to a lot of the guys at midweek last week, they all told me they wanted to play Kansas City, but of course, San Diego took care of that yesterday. Now, as far as meeting the Bills or the Oilers, I think they wanted to meet Houston simply because they'd already beaten Houston twice at their place and, of course, here at Three Rivers, and, of course, they thought they had Houston's number. But Buffalo is the team they must face now, and hopefully Buffalo's got all of the high scoring out of their system at this point.
Interesting, because the Steelers do get a chance for a little bit of redemption next Saturday.
I don't know if there is going to be any redemption after what I saw today. You know, no Jim Kelly, but Frank Reich steps in and does a tremendous job. Of course, I understand he's been known to do that, being the quarterback in Maryland, and what a comeback he had down there, I guess, a few years ago when he led them to a big win over Miami. Of course, no Thurman Thomas. I don't know his status at this point. Maybe you can tell me more on that, but it just shows that Buffalo is deeper than their front 11 or front 22. I know they've been hurting on defense a lot, and these guys still came to play football today. What a comeback, 32 points. Are you sure this is the same Buffalo Bills team we've been watching all season? Well, it was an unbelievable comeback, Derek. I've got to ask you about a couple of the Pittsburgh Steelers, though. First, Barry Foster, obviously he's been banged up a little, and Neil O'Donnell. What are their statuses for Saturday? Barry Foster is ready to go. Obviously, when you carry the ball 25, 35 times a game, you're going to be nicked up a little bit, but Barry is ready to play football, and if he has to carry the ball 25, 35 more times, as long as he's not knocked down by the Bills' defense, he will get back up and keep coming at him. Neil O'Donnell went full bore for 3 days on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Coach Bill Cowher says if Neil continues to improve the way he has, he will be the starting quarterback come Saturday. One final question, Derek. A lot of Bills fans want to know about the ticket situation in Pittsburgh. Has the game been sold out? There's less than 1,000 tickets available. They will be made available to the public Monday morning, I believe, starting at 9 a.m. at Three Rivers Stadium. So any of the Buffalo Bill fans who want tickets, my advice is stay at home. Let the Steeler fans have this one, would you?
Okay. Our thanks to Derek Gunn in Pittsburgh. Well, with all the excitement generated by the Bills, kind of easy to forget that the Sabres suddenly are on a roll as well, led, of course, by Alexander the Great. The Sabres home against the St. Louis Blues tonight, and Alexander with 36 goals going in. Now, it's 2-1 St. Louis second period as May gets it out to LaFontaine, who gets it to who else? Alexander, his 37th, ties it at 2. Now, it's 3-3 in the third. LaFontaine gets it to Alexander. His 38th gives the Sabres a 4-3 lead. It's 5-5 in overtime. The shot by Alexander is stopped, but May knocks home the rebound. Sabres win it 6-5 in overtime. That's the Sabres' third straight win. There you see the other goal scorers, May, Wood, Sweeney, and...
You're watching WGRZ TV, Channel 2. Now, from Western New York's news station, this is Channel 2 News, Nightside.
Good evening, I'm Rich Kellman.
And I'm Lori Lasowski. A problem for Bills fans tonight as they come down from a record day at Rich Stadium.
The question is no longer the outcome of the last game, rather how to get tickets for the next one. Channel 2 Nightside reporter Wes Goforth with details.
Do you want to stay overnight, or is this just a one day?
A busy night for area travel agencies handling packages for Saturday's Bills-Steelers game. And unless you have connections, this might be the only way to get there.
No, I'm sorry. Pittsburgh is sold out. It sold out at 9 o'clock this morning in Pittsburgh.
What a difference from a week ago when better than 15,000 tickets remained for a wildcard game, which a lot of people figured would never be played here. But it's those hardcore fans that did turn up here at the stadium yesterday who are creating a tremendous demand now for precious few tickets to Pittsburgh.
Where do you and other travel agents get Steelers tickets right now?
Well, we get them from basically any source that we can. Ticket brokers, fans in Pittsburgh, friends, coaches.
Front Row, AAA, and Small World Travel have sold some tickets and have waiting lists for others. Packages range from $175 to $250. That includes bus fare. Air would be much higher. And if you don't like that, you can try a do-it-yourself deal. Good luck on the tickets. For hotel, call the Pittsburgh Convention and Visitors Bureau at 412-281-9222. And not to worry, should the Bills win their next 2 playoff games.
Are you working on the Super Bowl yet?
Oh yeah, we're all ready. All we need is the ability to answer the phone and say, yes, we're leaving for Pasadena on Friday.
Wes Goforth, Channel 2 News, Nightside.
Need we remind you that because the game was not sold out, Channel 2 couldn't broadcast the game. And try as we might, the NFL would not give us permission to rebroadcast the game, saying the league does not want to set a precedent. Now, if you think that's unfair, write the National Football League, 410 Park Avenue, New York, 10016. Bills officials say, please don't call them.
Bills quarterback Frank Reich is usually in the shadow of Jim Kelly, but yesterday's game thrust him into the spotlight, giving fans a chance to learn more of what Frank Reich is all about on and off the field. Frank Reich's name will go down in history for orchestrating the greatest NFL comeback ever. Today, he was featured in a nationwide newspaper, interviewed on NBC's Today Show.
I look at that as a miracle from God.
And spotlighted on the network news.
One man on their football team, however, is the football equivalent of the Heimlich maneuver.
Frank Reich called a hero on the field, but those who know him well, like team chaplain Fred Raines, says there's much more about Reich to admire.
I think people respect him because he's genuine. Frank lives what he talks.
You faked her. Frank is a dedicated husband to Linda and devoted father to Leah and Avery. A born-again Christian, Reich says it's his faith that takes first place in his life.
My faith is such a strong part of my life, not only in football, but, you know, I want my faith to be a consistent factor in everything I do, in my family life, in football, in business, in everything that I do.
This was the song that Frank listened to last week for inspiration and that he quoted after the ball game.
Now I seek no greater honor than just to know him more and to count my gains but losses to the glory of my Lord. Thank you, Jesus.
Ed Kilgore will have more on Frank Reich and the Bills later on in sports.